All right, let's dig into one of the single biggest challenges in all of agriculture: how we deal with the pests that are constantly threatening our food supply. This is a battle that's fought in fields every single day, all over the world. And honestly, the stakes could not be higher. I want you to just think about one number: 40%. Pests, and we're talking about everything: insects, weeds, diseases. They can wipe out up to 40% of the world's food supply every single year. That is a staggering amount of food that gets grown but never actually reaches a single plate. So yeah, figuring out how to manage that loss is one of the most critical things we can do. So when you're faced with a number that huge, the big question is, what do you do? How do we protect our crops? But maybe more importantly, how do we do it in a way that's actually sustainable for the planet and for our future? This isn't about declaring some all-out war on nature. It's about being a whole lot smarter.
Okay, before we can dive into all the smart solutions, we've got to be really clear about what we're up against. What exactly is the problem? I mean, what even is a pest in the first place?
Well, put simply, a pest is basically any organism that's competing with us for something we want. It could be an insect gobbling up our corn, a fungus making our plants sick, or a weed that's stealing precious sunlight and water. You can just think of them as our direct competitors for food. So for a long time, the go-to solution was just to reach for the most powerful chemical you could find. But a much more modern and, frankly, more effective approach has come along. It's a whole philosophy called integrated pest management, or as you'll hear it, IPM. And this isn't just some new tactic, it's a complete shift in how we think about the problem. Let's break this official definition down, because the words here really matter. First, it's a system, not just a single action. It uses all suitable techniques, which means you have a whole toolbox, not just one chemical hammer. And this part is absolutely key. The goal isn't to totally eradicate every last bug. No way. It's about managing pests to keep them below a level where they cause real economic damage, all while protecting the environment around them.
I just love this quote because it perfectly captures the heart of IPM. It's a move away from just trying to kill stuff. Instead, the goal is to really understand the ecosystem and work with it. We want to create conditions where our crops can thrive and where their natural defenders can actually help us out.
So how does this philosophy actually turn into action? Well, IPM is built on 4 main strategic pillars that all work together to form a really comprehensive plan of defense.
And it builds in a really logical way. First up, you have prevention. This is all about choosing pest-resistant crops or rotating what you plant to break pest life cycles before they even start. Second, there's avoidance. This could be as simple as changing your planting dates so your crop isn't at its most vulnerable right when the pests are most active. Third, you've got to constantly monitor. You're out there scouting the fields, figuring out exactly what's there and how many. And then, only as a last resort, do you move to suppression. That's when you take direct action to bring those pest populations back down. Now, of all those pillars, this is the one that holds the whole thing up: monitoring. Getting out in the fields, using traps, keeping good records, it's absolutely critical. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't want a doctor to just start writing prescriptions without a diagnosis, right? Monitoring is the diagnosis. It tells you what pests are there, how many there are, and whether you even need to do anything at all. So effective management isn't just about watching the pest itself. It's about understanding the entire environment where the crop, the pest, and countless other factors are all interacting. This is the ecological battlefield. A classic way to think about this is the disease triangle. For a plant disease to really take off, you need 3 things all at the same time: a plant that can actually get sick, that's your susceptible host; the disease agent itself, the pathogen; and an environment that's just right for it. But here's the genius part. You only have to remove one of those 3 sides to break the triangle and stop the disease in its tracks. Let's look a little closer at that environment factor. Temperature is a huge driver of everything. It controls how fast an insect can develop from an egg to an adult. It determines if a pest can even survive the winter. And it dictates how many generations they can squeeze into a single growing season. Usually, warmer temperatures mean more pests, and they show up faster.
And then you've got moisture. High humidity, long periods where the leaves stay wet after it rains. That's basically a paradise for most fungi and bacteria. Those conditions are perfect for their spores to germinate, spread around, and infect the plant. So in a very real way, managing your water is managing disease.
So beyond the environment, a core principle of any strategy is, you guessed it, know your enemy. In IPM, that means you have to understand the basic biology of the pests you're trying to manage, whether we're talking about insects, pathogens, or weeds.
Take insects. Just knowing their life cycle is crucial. With complete metamorphosis, it's often the larva, the caterpillar, that's doing all the damage. But with incomplete metamorphosis, the little baby nymph and the adult often eat the exact same thing. Knowing this tells you exactly when and where to target your efforts to have the biggest impact, hitting the pest when it's most vulnerable.
Plant pathogens are incredibly resilient. They have all these clever ways to survive between growing seasons when their host crop isn't around. They can hide out in the soil, sometimes for years. They can hitch a ride on or even inside the seeds. Or they can just hang out on the dead plant material left in the field. And this is exactly why strategies like crop rotation and using certified disease-free seed are so powerful. They're designed to break that survival cycle.
And then we've got weeds. Their primary weapon is just ruthless competition. I love this phrase for them. They are light stealers. They grow tall to shade out the crop, while their roots are down below, aggressively sucking up all the water and nutrients that were meant for our food plants.
So when you start to put all of this together, you see that IPM isn't just a set of tools. It's a knowledge-intensive approach that requires you to think about the entire system. It really is a move toward a much more intelligent and much more sustainable way of farming.
And here's why it all matters. This is the payoff. By using IPM, we can dramatically cut back on how much we rely on chemical pesticides. That, in turn, lowers the risks to human health and the environment. It helps us manage the growing problem of pest resistance. And ultimately, it's the key to making sure our farms can stay productive and healthy for generations to come.
All of this really leads us to one final, crucial question. Our population is growing, our climate is changing, and the pressure on our food systems is only going to get more intense. Just doing things the old way, it isn't an option anymore. So the real question isn't if we should farm smarter, it's how could we possibly afford not to?